Northern pre-industrial life was focused around the town and the church. They were governed by town-elected officials. These officials were elected at town meetings that everyone would attend. Small businesses were big in the north. Often a lone craftsman or artisan would be skilled in making or producing one thing, like a shoemaker or blacksmith. These lone craftsmen or artisans would often have an apprentice that would work with them or for them until it was the apprentice's turn to take over the business. There were also subsistence farming and some indentured servants in the north as well as the south, because the land in the north, fishing, whaling, boat building, lumber, and trade were many common jobs. In pre-industrial America, Southern society was focused around the plantation. A plantation is a large farm. The wealthier plantations had many slaves and some indentured servants. Indentured servants were people from different countries that lived and worked at the plantations. These plantations mostly consisted of subsistence farming. Subsistence farming is when the owner grows just enough crops for them and their family to survive. The South was governed and controlled by the wealthy plantation owners. They didn't go to church, instead they just read the Bible at their homes.
Early industrialization was the start of factories. America swapped from the lone craftsman or artisan to the factory system. The factory system was when many workers would do simple tasks to complete the finished product. Factories were built near rivers for a power source. Factory workers lived in boarding houses. The conditions were poor in both the boarding houses and the factories themselves. The lighting and air were bad, and the machines were loud and dangerous. Workers were provided with poor medical care and weren't given workers' compensation if they were injured on the job. Injuries were a big problem for workers because if they couldn't work or were fired, their whole family would be fired as well. This is because of family plans. A family plan was when an entire family worked on a factory, including children, and if one person was fired, the entire family was fired as well. The owners of the factories didn't have problems firing their workers because there were always other workers to take their place. A lot of these workers were immigrants who came to America to escape poverty. Inventions were a big part of early industrialization. One major invention was the railroad system. This provided faster and more efficient transportation. Inventions such as the sewing machine, the automatic loom, and the steelmaking process helped make factory work easier and more efficient. The steel plow, cotton gin, and mechanical reaper helped America swap from small plantations and subsistence farming to mass production farming.
Late industrialization was the start of big business. Monopolies started forming, such as Standard Oil Company. On its way to becoming a huge industry, Standard Oil destroyed many of its competitors, which included many small businesses. Carnegie Steel Company also did this. Carnegie and Rockefeller were firm believers in social Darwinism, as were many other people in America. Social Darwinism is survival of the fittest in human interaction. People believe that those with the most wealth were the smartest and most fit. In the cities, corrupt government was a huge problem. The cities were controlled by political machines. The leader of the political machine was called a city boss. Many of the people involved with political machines were corrupt. Corruption is when people in power use their position in office for their own benefit. Ways they did this included kickbacks, payoffs, and bribery. Often they controlled the police forces so they could get away with illegal acts. Although the city bosses were stealing money from the people, sometimes they helped too. They helped build public buildings and helped immigrants gain their citizenship. During the late industrial period, immigration changed from old to new. In new immigration, people began coming from Eastern and Southern Europe, places like Italy and Poland. These new immigrants faced many new challenges. They were discriminated against because of the language they spoke, the way they looked, and their religion. They were blamed for problems in cities and factories that they didn't cause, the problems like overcrowding and poor sanitation. In post-industrial America, there were people who wished to right the wrongs of the industrial age. These people were called progressives. The progressives helped fix many problems in society. Muckrackers were progressives that would go into a factory as a worker and expose the problems going on inside. It was thanks to these muckrackers and progressives that change started happening. A lot of change started happening with jobs. Wages went up. Also, more people started having white-collar jobs instead of blue-collar. White-collar were suit and tie jobs such as a manager. Blue-collar jobs were jobs like factory work. Since changes like this happened, people started to have extra money to spend on leisure activities. Some of these activities were watching baseball games and going to jazz clubs. Women that would go to jazz clubs, dance, dress differently, and style their hair were called flappers. Also, since people had more money, suburbanization started happening. People had more money, therefore they were able to buy homes outside of the city. This helped the automobile company and road production, since people needed cars and roads to get to their jobs.